Hey, Radiant Mama. Before we dive into today's episode, I have something extra special to share with you. If you're a mompreneur who is craving connection, support, and real opportunities to grow your business, this is for you. I want to personally invite you to the Mama Means Business Networking and Mastermind event, a monthly virtual gathering designed to bring ambitious, passionate, purpose driven moms together. This isn't just another Zoom call. This is where community meets opportunity. Imagine being surrounded by women who get what it's like to juggle motherhood and entrepreneurship, who see your vision and who are there to cheer you on, share resources, and help you shine. You'll walk away from each event with fresh inspiration, new genuine connections, a chance to promote your business, expert insight, and coaching moments, all in a safe space where you're seen, supported, and celebrated. This is how we rise and thrive together. Spots are limited to keep things intentional and impactful. So grab yours now at the link in the show notes. It's only $5 to reserve your seat, and it could be the best $5 you spent on your business and yourself. Better yet, invite a fellow mompreneur to join you and double the magic because, Mama, you were never meant to do this alone. Now, let's get into the episode.
It breaks my heart to see when they are struggling in this way. And so it's something that I'm very passionate about. And I see the struggle that a lot of moms go through. So I first started working out with just teens and young adults, and then started helping out moms too, because they're the front line, right? They're there every single day at home with their child, hearing and seeing what's going on and feeling helpless, feeling like, they are trying, but they're getting nowhere, that their child won't listen to them, that they're not getting results, and they're trying to seek out different advice, different professionals to support them, and getting frustrated.
Welcome to Radiant Mom Rising. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, and in each episode, we dive into amazing stories, insights, and conversations that help moms like you chase your dreams and embrace your worth. Let's rise and shine together.
Hey, mamas, welcome back. I hope everyone had a really amazing Easter holiday. I know this episode is going to release in a couple more weeks, so Easter will be a ways over a little bit. But I just want to come on here, and right now this week, my son, who's 17 years old, is in Hawaii with his marching band, and I'm very excited. It's been a fun week. It's been spring break. The kids have been home, and I've still been able to accomplish a lot. We had our networking event this past week, Mama Means Business, and it was amazing. So heartfelt, so needed, and was amazing to connect these people that I knew and bring them together to support each other and meet each other for the first time. So I'm very grateful to that and very blessed. It was an amazing event. It was just wonderful to bring everyone together and have that experience. So I really hope to see you all at the next one. And again, I'm just so grateful to be on this journey and to be doing what I'm doing, and knowing that my son at his age is just thriving in the way that he is. I'm just so proud of him and of how far I've even come in my journey. So today's episode really hits home for me because, as people who know my backstory knows, that I struggled with a lot of things as a teenager. And this episode is very powerful in regards to teens and their body image issues as well as disordered eating. So if you've ever felt unsure of how to support your teen through body image issues or disordered eating, this episode is going to speak straight to your heart. In this powerful, eye-opening conversation, we're joined by Leslie Rose-Dethloff, health and wellness coach whose passion for guiding young people stems from her own experience as a mother. Leslie opens up about the journey with her daughter's health challenges and how it inspired her holistic coaching approach for both teens and their parents. This episode is full of deep insight and practical wisdom. Whether your child is silently struggling or you just want to build stronger, more open communication with them, you'll walk away with new tools and a greater sense of hope. Let's dive in.
Thanks for tuning in. Today I have Leslie with me, and I'm so excited to introduce you. So I'll let you kick it off. And how about you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure, sure. Hi. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
being with us.
Yeah. So I'm Leslie Rose-Dethloff, and I'm a health and wellness coach that specializes in teens and young adults. And I also work with their parents. So I kind of take a two-pronged approach. I help parents in relating with their teen and their young adult and what they're going through. And I'll explain that in just a minute. And then I work with the young people directly also and helping them. And so where I specialize is with disordered eating and body image and self-esteem because they're all related. And so I work in a really a holistic approach. One thing that I found when I went through this with my own daughter was that we sought out all different practitioners. We went to the doctor, we went to the therapist, so we went to a nutritionist, we went, dietitian, and we took all these different routes, and it was running from appointment to appointment, feeling like we weren't getting anywhere, and her really struggling and feeling burnt out and feeling worse. And so when I started to get into this, I was already coaching, but I started to make some shifts in my coaching and some changes and incorporated a lot of what I learned along the way with her. And really starting to understand that this really is a holistic, a whole person approach. When you're working with someone who has challenges with their body, who has challenges with their eating, and trying to do just one part is not sufficient. You're not going to get lasting long-term effect. And so I took the holistic approach with the skills that I had already, and then with what I was going through and what I was learning and put it all together.
That's awesome. That really resonates with me. That was something I struggled with a lot as a teen, was
Yeah.
my body image, and I had eating disorders. So I understand how hard that is. And when, as a parent, if you really are clueless on how to handle that and how to even relate to that or, understand what your teen's going through, it's easy to just, let it get out of hand sometimes. So
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful that you're helping in this way. And I'd like for you to tell us a little bit more about your journey and what you guys have gone through and how you've been able to help others shift from something like this, because it's huge.
Yeah, yeah. And Mary, you make a good point. It can move quickly and it can come up unexpectedly. You don't realize what's going on. And so that's what I help parents with, moms. I work a lot with moms, helping them to understand that this can progress quickly and it can go from disordered eating into an eating disorder. And then once you're dealing with an eating disorder, it's really hard, it's painful. If you talk to anyone who has had an eating disorder or a loved one who cares for them, it is really difficult because it takes over your brain essentially. It's crazy. But so my journey is that my daughter was in high school, and which is not uncommon when an eating disorder or disordered eating can start to develop. It can start earlier. I mean, there's in terms of body image, there are young people as early as 8 years old now who are starting to deal with body image concerns. And so it is happening more. It has quadrupled in I think since I want to say I'm just let me think of this for a second. That statistics are showing that eating disorders among the general population has more than doubled worldwide. And so, yeah, it's not. And then since 1990 is when obesity has quadrupled. So we're dealing with a couple of epidemics here where obesity is growing exponentially among young adults, among adolescents. And then they're becoming very body conscious because of our society. And so then there's developing body image concerns, they're developing disordered eating, and that's going into eating disorders. Disordered eating affects about 22% of children and adolescents. So that, yeah, I mean, we're talking almost a quarter percent of our population of young
Yeah.
people, right? And then that often, not always, but can lead into disordered eating. I mean, eating disorders, sorry. The thing about disordered eating that is really important to understand is it doesn't just go away. And a lot of young people don't just grow out of it, so to speak. It is something that persists for years and years throughout their lives. And they live at this level of disordered eating that makes it's a major part of their life. They're constantly dieting, they're yo-yoing back and forth. And we know a lot of adults that way who are struggling with their eating constantly, trying to get their weight under control and very focused on their body. And so this is what happens is even if a child has disordered eating that does not develop into an eating disorder, it still persists. It is still present in their life if it's not addressed early. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So my story is that, as I started to say, my daughter started to develop disordered eating and body image concerns in her high school years. She was going through some weight change, which is often what happens. They're going through puberty. Their bodies are changing. Their hormones are changing. Their growth spurts are happening. And so it's not uncommon to gain weight, especially for girls. And and that can really mess with their heads. They feel different, especially when other adolescents their age, their peers, are not changing in body shape or size. Their development may be delayed or at a different rate than theirs. And so that can happen. Now, on top of that, my daughter has ADHD. And
Oh,
sorry.
you're fine. I am so relating. That was so me in high school because, it's like dealing with the acne, which my acne was like, it really hit me in middle school and it finally kind of stopped a little bit as I hit high school. But, for me, what's sad is that I feel like even though I really wasn't fat, I had that disorder where I saw myself fat no matter what. And so it's like no matter how I was probably like actually very nicely thick. I had a womanly figure, but I didn't see it that way,
Right.
because I kept seeing all these like tall, skinny girls who just had all the boys wanting them. And so, yeah, there's so much that goes into it. But yeah, please continue with her. I mean, having now the weight issues, now she's also struggling with ADHD. I can only imagine.
Right. Yeah, so she also has ADHD, and so what's happening is she is has a tendency to gravitate towards sugar. Her brain likes the dopamine, likes the rush from the sugar, and so she's eating sugar and then she's restricting. And so, I start to see what's going on in that it's not just a normal weight gain that she's going through, like just a adolescent weight gain. And so we start working on it. Okay, what can we do to make changes here? And we've always lived a very healthy lifestyle, very lots of whole foods, natural, organic, that sort of thing. Certainly have sweets and, treats in the house, but it was not something that was excessive or restricted. And so we tried to maintain that balance. And so I could tell it wasn't really any of that behavior. It was really related and things that she was saying, words that I was hearing, judgmental comments about herself and her body I was hearing, that I knew there was this body image developing there, and then seeing what was happening with her tendency for sugar and her restricting. And so she would start to binge. And over time, this is evolving. And so she would be restricting and then she was binging. And even though I'm trying to work with her, she's seeing on social media from these different diet people, like, or so-called health experts telling her that carbs are not good. And so she's cutting out carbs, and I'm trying to, work with her on that and
Yeah.
and let her know. I mean, to the point where, I mean, just what, like a year ago or so, it was like oatmeal is bad for you, which is so crazy to me to hear that. And that there are these, as I said, quote unquote, professionals who are saying that you shouldn't have oatmeal, which is so wrong.
Yeah.
So a young body needs more calories than adults do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. Their bodies are growing and changing. They're using energy much more in their bodies. And so they need the complex carbohydrates. Do they need sugar? No. Do they need, junk foods and ultra processed foods? No, not really. What they need are complex carbohydrates, but she was cutting those out. And so she was really limiting herself on what her intake was. And so it was affecting her and causing these sugar cravings and then and leading to binges because she was depriving. So long story short, just as I mentioned, going through all these different professionals, therapists, dietitians, nutritionists, and really feeling they were getting nowhere. And so I started to apply my skills in coaching, working with her on mindset, on beliefs that I could see that she was developing. and working on her confidence within that. And really, when I say confidence, I use it as a general term, but it's really self-worth and self-esteem, which are very different than confidence. And self-worth is really the core of who you are as a person. And when you start questioning who you are as a person based on your appearance, that's where self-esteem comes in. So I worked with her on that and started to see results and started to see that confidence start to grow and some of that belief change happening. And so over time, she started to stop with the binges and started to releasing that and started to look at her health from a different perspective as we continued to work on it and really started to embrace her body more and started to exercise in a good way, like in, a way that, and we had her working out with a trainer who was very much about health and being fit in a
Yeah.
good way and using food as fuel. And so we've really focused on that and just continue. So, it took a while, but over time, she started to realize what was going on, what these influences were doing to her, and she started to release to these different perspectives of looking at her body
Mhm.
and that her body was not her worth and how she looked, she's more shapely than some other girls who were tall, skinny, very barely a curve on them.
Yeah.
And that wasn't her, and that would never be her. And to embrace her differences and and that they were beautiful. So, it's just starting to expose her to different types of bodies and different people and thinking about when she's interested in someone or attracted to someone, what is that? Is it their body? No, most times it's not. It's who they are as a person
Character.
on the inside.
Yeah.
It's their
Yeah. The
character.
character. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's such a powerful movement of what you're doing because, and it's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about working with moms because I do feel like it starts with us because how we've learned with children and how like you say easily influenced they are, but as a
Hmm.
parent when they're young they're always looking up to you. You're like they're everything, and so they pay attention to how you talk to yourself, how you
Hmm.
treat yourself. And so if we could start by role modeling it for ourselves, first of all, our lives will be so much better because we'll feel good about ourselves, we'll know our worth, and we'll attract good things, but we're also getting that example to them for themselves because it really does start there. And when you develop it into a teenager, oh my gosh, it's so tough because I feel like when I think about myself as a teen, I really thought I knew it all. Like I
Yeah,
thought I had all the answers, and with a parent too, especially like you listen to strangers more than you do your own parents. And when you're like
right.
that, I bet that's a struggle for a lot of moms who are listening. If they have teens, it's like, yo, they can give them all this advice, but then they hear it from some stranger and then they want to believe it, right? So,
Exactly.
what would you say would be a great first step for a mom who notices that her teen's struggling with this? Like, what would be a good first step for them to take?
Yeah. One of the first steps that I would definitely recommend is opening a conversation with them. And, as you mentioned, Mary, when your children are younger, they look up to you and they model you, they listen to what you have to say, they respect what you have to say. As they hit their teen years, they become more independent thinkers, which is wonderful, but they are exposed to a lot of different opinions. And you don't know anything, Mom, they do.
Yeah.
So I think the important thing is maintaining a connection. Now the relationship has shifted because of that dynamic of your teen growing and emerging into an adult. So it's really opening the conversation that is the important first step. Is understanding what's going on with them. Where is their mindset? Where are they learning this from? What is their perspective? Why do they believe that? And we want to just give advice, but really that is probably the worst thing that we can do. Not initially. What we need to do is listen. And so I have a whole method, a process that parents go through or moms go through with me, where I help them with opening that conversation, with creating a safe and open space for their teenager, for their young adult, to be able to have that conversation, to be able to start that dialogue, because it evolves over a period of time. But what I hear a lot from moms is that they have difficulty even having that first conversation because their teen shuts down, because they become defiant. I mean, my daughter would deny and she would lie and say, no, I didn't just eat that box of cookies. No, I don't have a problem. And, so they do it because they're embarrassed. They feel like they're out of control. They don't know what's going on and they're trying to get control. And that's a major part of disordered eating and eating disorders is control. Because their lives are changing so much socially, academically, at home, their bodies, that they feel out of control. And so that food can become a control for them. So really understanding where are they coming from, and it's different for every child. So that's why you need to get on their map. You need to understand what's going on. So yeah, I think the very first part is opening that conversation, creating a safe and open space where they feel seen and heard, because they do want to be heard. They do want to be seen. And even if they are denying, even if they are pushing you away, it's because of that fear.
Oh yeah, I know. I remember my son's band teacher. I'll never forget. He said this one time in a meeting. He's like, "I know sometimes your teens act like they don't care if you show up for them at the show or whatever, but I'm telling you, they do. They
They're
want you
looking.
there. They are
Yeah.
looking for you in that crowd. It does mean a lot. I think it's like this ego with them that they feel like they have to act like they don't care or whatnot, or like, oh, it's fine. It's not a big deal when it really is. And
Yeah.
this is why like having those conversations on a regular basis, just talking with your teens, I think is so important. I love that,
Hmm.
with my son, because I have a 16-year-old. Oh, he's about to be 17 soon. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
For his age, he's completely different than I ever was as a teen. And he talks to us like I remember one morning waking up like just recently, and he happened to be awake, and we spent like 2 hours just talking, and he was just sharing all about his anime shows, his video games. But
Yeah.
it felt so good because even at one point I'm like, are you okay to keep talking with me? Like, I don't want him to feel like obligated if he wants to go,
Yeah.
whatever. But he's like, no, I'm enjoying this, mom. And it's like, and we just talked, and we even talked about his future with college. It led to we talked about relationships,
Yep.
and it's like, I think that's amazing to be able to talk, especially boys. Boys tend to really be like
Right.
very quiet into themselves, but it took, like you say, just creating that space
Yeah.
and making that effort to just, hey, put your phone away, let's talk, and
Hmm.
getting him more comfortable with that over time, to where now he craves it, like he looks for those opportunities, and it's wonderful to see. And that's a wonderful, wonderful first step if you're not already doing that. And then, people like you, I highly want to
Yeah.
encourage people that if you are in a really challenging spot, like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to seek it. Do you find when you first get connected with these teens that there's a really major resistance? Like, do they come to you ready for the change, or do you feel like sometimes they come to you because the parents are making them? Like,
Yeah.
been your experience with that?
It's a mix. I definitely have had parents come to me and they want the change and their child is denying and resistant. And honestly, I don't work with people like that because we're not going to make change.
Yeah.
If they want to continue working at home and then come back to me, that's great when they're
Yeah.
ready. But I'd have to know that that young person is ready to make change. And because I can't force it. And I can tell when there's usually like maybe a little bit of resistance. I'm like, okay, we can get there. But if there's complete denial, then there's other work that needs to be done first. And it may require going to a therapist to work on, defiance or other, psychological mental health issues that they are going through. It could be another type of disorder that is present that needs to be dealt with first. So I definitely want to make sure that who I'm working with, there is a desire to do something. There is a desire to move forward. Because we all know when we have a stubborn teenager, it's like moving rocks or mountains. But majority of my clients who come to me, they're ready.
Okay.
They recognize that something's not right, that they're struggling, that they're having a hard time. They've had the conversation with their parents. And so what I do is I will talk with both of them. And so that whoever the young person is coming in, that they are not just being dumped in my lap, from their perspective, that they are having a choice in this
Yeah.
and that they're getting a comfort level with me. So we have a conversation, we'll meet and we'll just talk and kind of connect and see what's going on for them and make sure that, okay, are you ready for this? And then we'll move forward if so. So I find that that is the best way to work with a young person. So their mindset, at least, it's in the direction and they're open to the possibilities. And then as I work with them, I can get them to open more. I can get them to start to make changes little by little and work on what's happening and with themselves and goal setting and making change. So, because it can be scary too. It's one of those things where even though what you're doing is unhealthy, you know it. And
Yeah.
when you have to make some new changes, that can be scary because you don't know it. You don't know what life is going to be like. And there are a lot of fears attached to that. Especially if it's an eating challenge and really a body image challenge too, where am I going to gain weight? Am I going to get fat? Am I going? So these things are going around in their minds and that can cause some resistance.
Hey, Mama. I know what it's like to feel like you're just going through the motions, showing up for everyone else, but wondering, what about me? You have dreams, you have a purpose, and I truly believe you're meant for more than just surviving the day. That's why I'm offering something really special, a free Radiant Mom breakthrough session with me. This is just a heart-centered conversation where we get to the root of what's been keeping you stuck and help you find real clarity on your next steps. And if by the end of our time together, we both feel like I can support you further on this journey, we can talk about that, but no pressure, no expectations. My goal is for you to walk away with a renewed sense of direction and confidence to take action now. So if you're ready to shift things in your life, go grab your free session using the calendar link in the show notes before spots fill up. I'd love to connect with you. All right. Now let's get back to the show. Absolutely. And then on top of that too, like we live in a world now where instant gratification is such a thing that like everyone always expects like everything to happen like right away. And if it doesn't, then you feel like you failed. You feel like, oh, it's not working. But we don't understand that things take time. And it's just the reality of it all. You can have all the tools, the knowledge, the everything laid out in front of you, but it still takes you taking one step at a time in order to get there and get the results. And sometimes it just doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's a big struggle, especially as a teen. I mean, they already have so much pressure on them at school and figuring out where are you going to college? What are you doing with your life after this? It's like they have all this pressure on them. And then to have this other internal pressure of hating how you look and hating how you feel or feeling like, well, where do I belong in this world? Like it's a lot. And so, see, and that's why for me, that's why I turned to drugs because I didn't have the support. I didn't have the right people to do like I would kill to have had someone like you in my life back then. I could imagine like the different decisions I could have made because I craved it. Like I didn't really want to go down this path. I remember many times like doing the drugs and being at these parties and feeling like, what are you doing, Mary? What are you
Wow.
doing?
Yeah.
But I still also at the same time just was like, didn't feel like there was any other options for me.
Right.
I felt
Yeah.
like this was as good as it gets, and hey, might as well just have fun and screw it. You know,
Right.
that was my attitude, like whatever. And I just like I said, I love that there's someone like you, and there's people out there like you who can help with this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's my mission. And it's, after having gone through this and seeing some of my daughter's friends who were going through similar situations. And then as more I got involved in it, and the more I started helping young people,
Yeah.
it breaks my heart to see when they are struggling in this way. And so it's something that I'm very passionate about. And I see the struggle that a lot of moms go through. So I first started working out with just teens and young adults, and then started helping out moms too, because they're a front line, right? They're there every single day at home with their child, hearing and seeing what's going on and feeling helpless, feeling like,
Yeah.
they are trying, but they're getting nowhere, that their child won't listen to them, that they're not getting results, and they're trying to seek out different advice, different professionals to support them, and getting frustrated. I mean, I've had one mom said to me, she goes, everything that was given to us by therapists was just generic. There were no
Yeah.
action plans. There were no, like, nothing
Yeah.
for my daughter to put into action, like to work on,
Yeah.
nothing that was an exercise or, in terms of like a workshop or
Yeah.
work program or, anything to help her work through and to process and to make that next step.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Moving forward, like that's the
Yes.
thing. I have all understand that therapy is really good for a lot of people who are trying to heal, but that is the thing with therapy for me, even because my mom did try as well to put me in therapy, but it's like I felt like all we did was just like
Talk,
I just talked about my past. I talked
talk.
about what I was struggling with. There was no like, well, what do I do? Like, what do I do now
Exactly.
to move? And that's what I love about life coaching. And it's
Yeah,
transformed this world, has transformed so many lives because that's what we focus on. We focus on, well, where are you now and where would you like to be? And then how can we fill that gap?
exactly.
Like, what's that missing gap? And then let's just start taking steps towards that.
Yeah.
And a
Yep.
lot of us too, we find that bridge for people to get there sooner than later. But at the same time, I always try to be upfront with people. Like it still takes time to accomplish true lasting results. Like, yes,
Absolutely.
you might can do this program and and get that first client or start seeing that little bit of weight come off within a month or two. But at the same time, if you want to create lasting habits and lasting success, there's a consistency and a way that you have to keep showing up all the time and get the support to. Community is so important. Trying to do all these things on your own, you'll still manage, but it sucks. It's a lot
Right.
harder, it's a lot lonelier, and a lot of times a lot less successful in the end because we get in our own way all the time and we talk ourselves out of things. And so it
Hmm.
is important to seek that community, that help, that support, because accountability is a huge
Yeah.
change in making sure that you stick to what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, I was just going to say that accountability is one thing for sure. And I incorporate that into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Every session that we're meeting, I give them at the end of the session, I give them action steps. They have something that they need to do that week. And when we get back together the next week, accountability. Okay, where are you at? What did you do? What did you not do? Let's discuss that. How did that happen? Like, why didn't that happen? And what can we do about it moving forward? So it's always, as you said, Mary, progressive. It's
Yeah.
looking at constant evolution, constant progress, but in measurable amounts
Yeah.
so that they're not feeling freaked out, they're not feeling overwhelmed, but they feel like, okay, something's happening here. And
Yeah.
then the other big part about coaching that I think really stands out is that we celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
We look at, okay, what have you, achieved along the way here? What has happened? Because humans have a negative bias. We tend to look at what went wrong. We tend to look at what progress we haven't made yet. And often when we set goals, they're big and lofty and they're not necessarily achievable, or it does take a long time and we're not looking at the milestones along the way. And that is something that coaching does and that I definitely incorporate into my programs is making sure that we're looking at those mini milestones along the way and that we're celebrating them when we're recognizing and validating, look at what has happened so far. We'll take a look back midway, look at everything that person has accomplished. And it is so validating and it just motivates you to keep going.
Yeah,
So,
because it's like a track record of evidence of like how far you
mhm.
come, because it's so easy to look back and be like, oh, I feel like I want to do this, and that. But then if you really take the time to look about what you have accomplished, you're right. It's a reminder of like, wow, well, you know what? I actually have come further than I thought.
Yeah,
So, we
yeah.
got to recognize that and keep that motivating us, like you say, to keep that momentum going because, life is unpredictable and we all are going to have our ups and downs. And it is beautiful that you incorporate, because I mean too, I believe in that, the small wins, because I'm all about the baby steps. Like really, because as moms, especially, we're already so busy. We have so much on us. And the last thing I ever
Mhm.
want to do is bombard them with so much, feeling like you have to do all these things in order to make it. It's like, no, let's just find one step at a time that we can work on, this week, today, tomorrow, whatnot. And once you accomplish that, yay. And then now we can move on to the next one and not overwhelm ourselves to feeling like, oh oh my gosh, I'm behind, or, I need more, and I need to do more, 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 because sometimes we actually end up doing more than we realize, even just, setting out for that small goal.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
is a really beautiful thing to create that for people, and show them just how capable, right?
Yeah.
How capable we are to really turning our lives around and creating lasting results that truly change our realities and really bring us the life that we want. And especially for you working with teens. There was a time that I almost wanted to do that when I first got started with life coaching,
Yeah.
because I felt like I resonate with teens, because that was my greatest turnaround in a negative way for me in my life. That's where I started doing the drugs and going down the wrong path. And if I can help other teens to not do that and to feel good, that would mean the world to me. So
Right.
that's when I, eventually decided to work with moms, because I'm like, well, if I can get to help moms from the get-go to be that role model, to understand that they matter too, and help them to set that, I feel like that's a great way to speak to teens, which of course, I just, my heart just reaches out to moms dealing with that, because I know for my mom, it was hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I went from being her sweet baby girl where we were like this, to being someone who gave her attitude, who yelled at her, who walked all over her, who disrespected her. Like, I became someone she didn't even recognize, and
Right.
it broke her, and she didn't know what to do. She was a single mom. She didn't have the support herself growing up, so she didn't know what to do, and
Yeah.
she ended up giving up and just letting me, like, kind of letting me be. And I know she has her regrets, but I always tell her, it's like, I don't have regrets, Mom. I said, Mom, you did the best you could with what you had. And
Yeah.
thankfully, she always talks about that. She's like, Mary, you're so lucky. You're living in a world where there's so much support, so much resources. And I really think we need to really reflect on that. We're living in a world where there's so many people out here who want to support you, who want to give you everything they can to help you make the right choices and to be the best versions of yourself. How lucky we
Yeah.
are, because back in the older generations, they didn't have this. They didn't have
Right.
this ability. And so they did have to figure things out, like, really on their own, or struggle, or learn things the hard way. So I'm just grateful. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful. And I always tell my mom, no regrets, because everything I went through helped me become who I am today. And if anything led me to not have the family and the life that I have today, then I wouldn't want to change anything. I'm
Yeah.
glad, I'm just thankful that I chose in the end to do something about it. Because at
Right.
the end of the day, the teenagers or the moms, they have to choose that they want to do something about it, and then take that first step,
Yep.
talk about
Yep.
it.
And I think, most likely there's a good chance that you decided you wanted to do something about it because your mom did raise you well in the beginning. And she did all that she could, as you said, like she did what she could with what
Yeah.
she had at the time. But she set you up with a really solid foundation so that when you did come back around, you were more motivated and you were, in that direction of like, I want to do something. I want to do something about this.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So it's probably or hopefully a reward back for her for
Yeah.
everything.
Well, you know what I always tell my mom is that, Mom, the one thing I loved about her was that no matter what, I could talk to her and tell her anything,
Yeah,
anything and everything. And she never judged me. She didn't, disown me. Like, she knew everything I did. And I love that she always gave me that space to just be real. And I
right.
think you're right. That is an underlying love and way about her that she always did from the get-go, that made it easy when I was ready to just turn to her. And
You knew you were supported.
she's always supported me no matter what. Even when I made the wrong decisions, she still loved and supported me. And
Yeah.
what I love about her too, though, she learned not to enable me, though. That was a very important shift for
Yes.
her, because it's that
Yes.
tough love. People always want to, oh, it's my child. I can't, put them out. I can't, whatnot. But sometimes it's like, if you don't push them in a place where they have no choice but to either really continue to hit rock bottom or to turn around. Sometimes that's what it takes for them to truly take it seriously. Like, why change if I'm just going to keep getting away with it?
Uh-huh.
If you're still going
Yep.
to take care of me and put a roof over my head, why should I change? I love God too, because God actually put us in a position, I feel like, where we got, I was out on the streets, because we lost our home. My mom got evicted when I was like 15, almost going on 16. And so I had no choice. Like, and she too, she tried everything she could, but it was a situation where, we, we got put out. And I think that journey led me down to my rock bottom, to the point where I had to,
Yeah.
make a decision. Am I going to keep down this path and overdose or kill myself, or what? Or am I going to turn my life around and really step into who I was always meant to be. And I just am grateful that I chose that path.
Yeah, I am too, because you're here helping a
I,
lot of people. So that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so powerful speaking about this and putting this message out there. And so I hope if anyone's listening, if you're someone who may be struggling with an early teen or in that stages of being with a teen that's, struggling with their body image, like please reach out to Leslie. Actually, go ahead and share with us for anyone who is interested, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, so my website is Leslie Rose Coaching, and then you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Leslie Rose Coaching. So easy to remember, it's
Yes.
a little simple. And I have an Empowered Moms program, which is, as I was mentioning, really helping moms with how to build that connection with their teen, how to open the space for them, how to support them ongoing. And all of those things that you're talking about, Mary, like the feelings of shame and guilt that are going on, dealing with that, maybe even their own body image concerns and their own disordered eating or eating disorders that they've had, helping them work through that and removing some of the shame or the fear and guilt that they might have that they've caused this in their teen, helping them with understanding nutrition in a way that maybe they haven't looked at it before. So, working on all of those things with them, setting up a life that they can feel good about and supporting their teen. And also that change in role that I mentioned earlier, going from a young child to an emerging adult, and this transition that happens in the teen years. And our role as a parent does change, and we have to change with that. And often we're still trying to fix. We're still trying to run their homework to them when they're in high school because they forgot it. Instead of letting them, miss that assignment and then
Yeah.
realizing, oh, I better not forget that again. Small things like that. But the point is that helping us to make that shift, us as moms, as parents, to shift into more of a mentor. How do we guide and support our young person so that they can make positive decisions for themselves, that they can become a confident, strong, and successful adult?
Yeah.
And so helping them with that process and that whole mindset shift and the skill shift and change is another part of what we work on in that program. So, like you said, it's not like I meet one session and we're done.
Yes. Yes.
It is a program, but it is well worth it because it sets you up from a number of different aspects in that relationship and in that support with your teen and your young adult, and helping them through, their high school years or their college years and everything that's going on in the transitions that they're facing.
Oh, that's an incredible program right there. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. And thank you for creating that for moms because like again, that's things that so many of us would kill to have had now. And it's
Hmm.
it's available. Now there you go.
Yeah.
And that's awesome because that is such a crucial time and shift. And it's something I completely support because as someone who's doing that, who has taught my son to be very independent, to
Uh-huh.
understand like he's got to do his own laundry. You got to clean your own bathroom. You got to clean dishes. Like you're going to
Yep.
have to do this for yourself someday and you have to have your own money. You got to pay attention to what's in your checking, your savings and make sure that, he's almost going to be getting his license soon. He's going to have to get a job and pay his own insurance and do all those things because that's his part of life. And the sooner
Right.
I get you set up for it, the sooner it won't like throw you on your butt when you
Yeah.
go out there
Yeah.
in the real
Yeah.
world.
But he
You know?
knows he has your support, right?
Absolutely.
And so that,
Absolutely.
he's not all out on his
Hmm.
own. And so
Nope.
that gives them the
Yep.
confidence to do that, to do
Yep.
those things,
Yep.
because they know, okay, mom's got my back and
Yes.
she's going to help me through this. And if I don't know how to do something, she's going to help me get the answers or provide the information.
Absolutely. Always, always. Me and his dad. And it's so I love that he has a great dad that he can turn to. I mean, we've
Yeah.
had to talk about sex, about drugs, about all sorts of it. We talk about his future. We talk about the choices he makes and consequences. Be like with every choice you make, there's going to be a good or bad consequence. So the choice is yours in the end. So don't
Yeah.
don't jump to conclusions. Don't jump on things. Always really take that time to really make sure it's right for you and always know we're here for you as a listening ear. So I commend you for everything you're doing. I love it so much. And I always, of course, open the floor to my guests. Is there any final piece of advice that you would give moms in a situation like this?
Well, I think it's really being as patient as you can. It is a journey,
Yeah.
and just continuing to show up as best as you can and show your teen, your young adult that you love them. No matter what, as you said, like what your mom did for you, that you're there for them and that you're going to be there because that even if they are in a mode of like you were, Mary, where you were defiant, where you were angry, where you were yelling at her, whatever it might be, they still love you and they still want your love. And when times can get tough, and I'm not saying it always is this way, but when that happens, just stay strong, just stay consistent. Consistency is key. And also remembering their brains are developing, they're still constantly changing. And so repetition and consistency is major. So all the things that you were talking about, Mary, of, letting them know about sex, about drugs, about drinking, all of it, and everything else in life, repetition, 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 because their brains don't think long term fully. They don't fully think consequences. They are more prone to impulsivity. And so with disordered eating, impulsivity is a big thing, whether it is impulsivity with overeating and binging, or it is with trying to restrict and control and over exercising, different things that can happen depending on what their kind of modality is that they develop. So really just showing your love, being consistent, being patient, and just continuing to repeat and reinforce the positives that you know that they need to know.
Yeah.
And that really can make a huge difference.
Oh, gosh, absolutely. This has been such a powerful conversation, Leslie. I can't thank you enough for sharing your story and for doing all that you do and just being here with us on the show.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and just hearing your story is just, it breaks my heart, but it's also heartwarming to know that you got through it and
Yeah.
that you have the perspective that you have, which is really great.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's not been an easy journey, but like I said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's a true saying, that's for
Right.
sure. And that my goal is to help people to see that I'm evidence. Like you can completely turn your life around
Yes,
and make it everything you've ever dreamed of and in such magical ways. So don't give up. Keep going and know that we are here to support you if you really are ready to take action and move forward in the best way possible, for sure.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
thanks again, Leslie, for being part of the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been great.
I hope this episode truly helps anyone who may be experiencing this in some form in their life. Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. You are not alone. Many teens silently battle body image issues and disordered eating. By listening to your instincts and staying informed, you can catch signs early and make a huge difference. You don't need all the answers to be helpful. What your child needs most is your patience, love, and consistent presence. Just showing up with an open heart matters more than you realize. You can be a safe place. When you communicate without judgment, your teen is more likely to open up. Practice creating space for conversations without rushing to fix them. You have a role in your teen's healing. Leslie's two-pronged approach reminds us that empowering your child means working on your own awareness and growth too. Healing is a family journey. You can shift the energy in your home. By modeling positivity, emotional regulation, and healthy habits, you create an environment that supports your child's mental and physical well-being. You deserve support too. Don't carry the weight alone. Leslie's Empowered Mom program and others like it offer resources and community so you can feel equipped, educated, and encouraged. Be sure to visit Leslie at leslierosecoaching.com and connect with her today. There is also a free resource in the show notes on 20 ways to build self-confidence in your teen, so be sure to grab that. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share it with a mom friend and leave us a review. It is most helpful and only takes a moment of your time. If you are a mom in business, be sure to follow me on Eventbrite and join us on the next Mama Means Business networking event to make new connections, grow your network, find collaboration, and get the support you deserve so you thrive in both business and life. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, much love.